Welcome to In the Blue. I am your host, Dr. Cory Frogley. Always great to be with you. We've got an incredible show today. In fact, I've been really looking forward to the show for a while because we've got a good friend of mine with me who is an incredible doctorpreneur. He's opened up 4 locations down in Texas. He is a 1998 graduate from Parker College, and he has gone through the evolution of not just being a doctor, but becoming a successful business owner and understanding how of taking all the principles that we've built into BlueIQ, and he's living evidence of that. Now, many of you on our show, some of you are dentists, some of you are chiros, and in the dental profession, you know that this is happening, that the consolidation of the market, the opening up of the ability to open up multiple locations, finding that EBITDA that is the sweet spot to leverage the growth factors that fuels the fire. Well, that's starting to happen in the chiropractic profession. And again, that's why I'm so honored to have Dr. DeRamus with us today. He's the owner of Sandstone Chiropractic. He has been on the best-selling author of a book. He speaks nationally. He's had an incredible run with the Texas. In fact, I got to rib you just a little bit, buddy. The Texas, not the Texans football team, but the Texans cheerleading squad. Dude, how did you get that gig?
Yeah, that was a pretty good gig.
Pretty good gig. But Tony, thanks for being with us, man. This is an honor for me, and excited to talk about our 4 Ps of a $1 million practice. And this is the kind of material that we love to bring our audience, because this is what they need to hear, that this is possible.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to this as well, because of what you've been doing in this profession, the dental profession, the chiropractic profession. And by the way, we are up to 6 now. So we're up to 6 now, plus we have
nicely done.
Yeah, we'll be up to probably 8 by the end of next year too. But the expansion is going to really escalate here soon. But I've got to tell a quick story for you. So, it was, as you know, when you grow a business, the metrics become extremely important to be able to look at your business from all different angles. So I spent time trying to create my own spreadsheets, looked into other companies and became very disgruntled with it. And I was actually with a friend of mine who said, hey, here's this BlueIQ stuff, right? And so I decided to, but it was a dental software. Right? So I decided to call you anyways. Yeah.
Still called me.
Yeah. And so in the discussion, you said, you're a chiropractor. I said, you're a chiropractor. That's odd. And the thing that you told me at that time was that, we had one for the chiropractic profession, but we found that they didn't care about the metrics, or we had to educate them so much about the metrics. But the dental industry, on the other hand, they got it and they ran with it. And so what I'm hoping now is, and I see you doing this, you're bringing this back into the chiropractic profession. And then hopefully along with you, we can train people on metrics and how to run that business the right way.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, and in our profession, this is why having Tony on the show is so exciting, because he's going to share with us the very things that he has done to create the explosive growth that he's in. And as you're listening to this, so let's jump into this. What's P number 1?
Well, P number 1, I usually say for last, it's people. It's so important. And I when I first started in practice, I was more of a boss than I was a leader. You know the difference, right? You got to follow by the rules, and you can either affect them positively or negatively at work. Doesn't matter, but leaders can affect you anywhere you go, type thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't establish myself as a leader, and it was an absolute mess. And it wasn't until I got my vision clear and became a good leader and shared that vision with other people that, it wasn't until then that I started attracting A-player people around me. And so, if you think, I don't know of any business, or maybe there's some businesses, but it's very rare that they operate that and are successful without people, right? So it's funny because when I first started in practice, my mantra that I had was that, the perfect practice with no staff. So bad at managing people.
Just me.
But now I'm surrounded by a group of individuals that they bought into that vision and they carry that. This last year I've been fortunate to have a lot of accolades, and I'm almost guilty receiving these accolades because I know who's doing the work. But so that's the most important P of really everything that's there.
So let me just make a note on that, because I've actually watched several of your YouTube shows and your videos, and you have some incredible people on your team, and that doesn't just happen though, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to put an ad out and try to hire good people. It's a completely different game when you become the person that attracts those people into your life, right?
Yeah. Boy, what a great statement.
And you did that, right? So I get that the accolades should be, and I'm a big fan of that. It's the team, not just me. But I want the audience to just stew on that for a second. When you become who you need to become, the people will show up in your life to help you build your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say, for instance, you rank your employees, I'm sure, as A, B, C, or D employees. If you are yourself as a leader or a C player, you may every once in a while attract that A player. They're not going to stay. It's impossible. They want to be an A player atmosphere and work around A players. They don't work well with C and D players.
Yeah,
very, very important. And I feel like I have a lot of discipline in my life, and the discipline is there because I'm inherently just a lazy person. I like to be lazy. I like my time on the couch. And it doesn't work out that way, but there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of discipline that you have to go through in order to become that person. You cannot, there's no way you can scapegoat what it's going to take, what is necessary to build yourself up to that degree. And if you don't do that, once you get to a certain level, right? Once you get to a certain level, it's going to be complete chaos for you.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that people ask me all the time. They'll say, well, I want multiple practices, right? And I say, well, okay, tell me where you are. And this first thing out of their mouth is, well, I got to get an associate. I go, okay, you've got a long way to go, buddy. Yeah. Because it's so much more to it than that. So I give them general rules. I say, until you get your solo practice to $1 million, you have no business opening another practice. Yeah. Because in that growth process of taking it from 0 to 1 million, there's so many steps that you have to go through. And the first step, the most important step, is learning how to lead people, right? Learning how to create that vision for other people. Very important. Yeah.
Love it. That's spot on. Love it. All right, P number two.
Let's see. We got 3 of us. So let's go into presentation, because presentation, in my opinion, is something that is too often overlooked. It was overlooked by the hospitals for a long time, but now they're catching on to this. They're making their hospitals a little nicer, a little more comfortable for the general public, right?
Yeah.
But presentation, it can be anything from your reported findings. In fact, when I say presentation to most people, first thing that comes in their head is like how you deliver your reported findings, because that's the one thing we always work on. But there's some other things that are important around that, and I look at these things externally and also internally. So externally is what people are going to feel. When they come in your office, what are they feeling, right? What are they seeing? What are they smelling? Are your clipboards cracked? Is your paperwork, copy after copy and crooked on the? It's just the things that mean a lot. If you're going to provide a high quality service, you have to have a high quality environment with that. And then internally, when they come in your office, there's a certain energy that is produced with the right people, the right place, the right everything that's supposed to be there that is almost infectious in a way for when they come in. I mean, we have people coming into our offices now without even needing an appointment. They just walk in because it's a nice escape for them to be there. So, and I'm not saying that you have to gold plate your walls. You have to do anything like that, but you really do have to make it a nice place. Here's one of my pet peeves, and our profession has struggled with identity for a long time, and they've always wanted to be seen, in equal eyes as the medical doctors. But if we continue to open up our businesses next door to a washateria or a newsstand or something of that nature, and then go, hey, we want equal rights, you got to rethink that. We need to present ourselves as successful and not just act as if we are.
No, that's spot on. I like what you said. It's not just what they see, it's what they feel when they walk into the practice. And I highly recommend to our audience to at least once a month, as you and your office manager, to walk in your front door, not the back door where you guys park, come in through your front door and sit down in your reception room.
Yeah.
Just sit there for a few minutes, look around, smell it, feel it, look at it, because that's what your patients are experiencing. And if it's not top notch, It goes a lot right along with what you're saying, Tony.
Yeah, that is so true. And if you do that enough times and you have a true A player staff, they start doing that for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that type of stuff. I mean, we're so meticulous in our office. I mean, like Disney, apparently I don't know if it's not the case now because I've been to Disney a few times, but back in the old days, if there were any scratches on any piece of equipment, Disney made sure that was corrected that night before the place opened up again. So if there's a crack on your table or anything like that, my God, just change the upholstery. It doesn't cost that much, but and you may not, as the doctor, because some people don't pay attention to this as we do. You may not think it's important, but there's people in your office that are important, or maybe they were there and then they had to leave because they didn't like the crack on the table.
Well, right. The crack on the table is more than just a crack on the table, right? It's a representation of the operation you're running. And I tell you, it's a pretty cool experience. If you're not in our audience, if you're not getting comments from your patients that they're commenting frequently on the feeling of your practice, then you haven't built the feeling of your practice right.
Mm-hmm. I like talking to you, man. Speaking of presentation, one of the things I liked about BlueIQ so much was it's so graphically pleasing. If you could have seen some of the spreadsheets that I was producing, even with my graphs, and I go back to the new stuff and I go, "Oh, wait a second, this is really nice." I just enjoy looking at it.
That's one of our mantras, man. Like, you're still on spreadsheets.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And here's what's unique about your stuff too, because it's like with your website designers. Have some guys are into functionality and they care less about what's graphically pleasing, and some guys are really graphically pleasing, could care less about functionality. And you've found some way to actually combine both of those into one software. Incredible.
The fact you're making that comment that's very meaningful to me, but it's gonna go right back to what we're talking about today, right? I just became who I needed to be to build this company, and they showed up. The guy who's actually responsible for our design and all of that, it's a crazy story. We don't have time today, but he showed up, and one of our very first employees that we brought on for, and she's actually the one that's running the show right now. I mean, these people just showed up in my life, and not always looking for a job or looking for the job that they were interviewing for, but it is, Tony. This is what we're trying to present to our team today is be who you need to be and master the fundamentals of business. Just master them, because the fundamentals aren't that hard to master, but when you do, that's when you've built the solid platform to do what Tony's done and begin the growth that like the incredible growth opportunities aren't going to show up until you've mastered the fundamentals. I think we may have a frozen internet, Tony. I don't know if you can hear me. So, Tosh, will you just tag me if it's me or if it's Tony that's frozen? But we're going to go on to Tony's next P, which is branding and marketing. And hopefully he comes back on here, because it's going to be much better hearing it from Tony. But branding and marketing is one of those things that, again, ties into what Tony was just talking about the feeling of the practice. Because your brand, your marketing, it's when somebody sees it, what do they feel when they see it? And this ties back into that same concept of that feeling, that experience. And then everything needs to be tied together. So if you're opening up multiple locations, again, it's that same experience of each location has to connect. The brand has to connect. And it's a really cool experience when all of these things come together, and they do. So that's branding. That's the concept of our marketing, our branding. When we send something out, take some time to wordsmith it and make sure it comes together. So it looks like Tony's back. We're just adding him back to the show.
My internet crashed on me. My goodness. I apologize about that.
I went into branding and marketing, and I hope that's okay, Tony. I was just sharing with the audience just how important it is that the branding is done well, that it's not just what you see, but what you feel from the design, that your letterhead to your business cards to the signage to everything has to connect. If anything's sent out to the public, it has to represent what you're trying to build. So I'll let you take it from there, because
I feel like you've looked at my presentation before, because that's the other P is PR, public relations, and it wasn't just because there was another P I could add in there, but it's, to me, when you break down your public relations, that is more your branding, like what you're trying to sell the company at that point. But everything you send out, marketing is trying to sell a product or service, but that's still public relations. Everything, and I've got very strong feelings about the marketing that we do, and I'm very particular about who does our marketing for us. As you know, if you want to run a print ad in a magazine, of course they say, well, sure, we'll design the ad for you, but where's the consistency in your branding at that point? And I offend these people. I'm just not going to allow them to make these ads for us. But yeah, so I think that the PR part of these things, and now we look at every aspect of it, from the branding, the marketing. We had this thing called reputation management. When people started, reviews, which, if you look at 92% of people read online reviews, and I think they said half the people between ages of 18 and 34, they trust reviews more than their family or friends.
Yeah.
So and all of a sudden we started getting these negative reviews, and we took a proactive approach. And so, so this reputation management and brand awareness kind of had a baby now. It's called reputation marketing. So now we're out getting our own reviews, testimonials, all these other things to kind of head this stuff off. Yeah. But marketing is everything. And here's a stat for you. This is really interesting. So the Chiropractic Economics, as you know, comes out with their survey every year for chiropractors. The average chiropractor in this country spends an average of $15,000 per year on marketing. And in my opinion, if you're not spending at least 10% of your revenue on marketing, you're missing the boat. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think the average chiropractor makes about $400,000 a year, $500,000 a year. But that's $40,000 that should be spending in marketing at least.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And any business, entrepreneurship, explosive growth conference that I've been to, they bring that very point up, Tony. So great point in that we're not spending enough, and we're not driving hard enough the growth cycle, because that's the feeder. And that's why in BlueIQ, the top dashboard and the top KPI starts with marketing, so that there's that initial influx of the growth cycle. And if you're going to do what you're doing, that ability to open up other locations, you've got to master the marketing process.
You do. And as you know, it's really changed a lot too over the years. If you're still advertising in phone books, you have a problem.
Review those anymore?
Yeah, I didn't even think they made them anymore. But yeah, so it's marketing is definitely a difficult thing. It's funny, because as you start in practice, you have to be good at, or average at everything, including your marketing, including your technique of chiropractic or dentistry. But as you grow, you need to make sure that people that know what they're doing, that they're doing that for you. And I know we've spent quite a bit of money on our marketing side. Our marketing department is just, top notch. I know that our marketing has changed too. I'm sure that you're real similar. We see a lot of Facebook marketing now, and one of the things we haven't done is we typically don't give people deals. We don't do the coupons because it says a lot about our business and our practice. We use Facebook marketing for various talks that we do, but we're much further into what's called the patient journey. We want to be a trusted resource for patients, and it's like putting up a billboard. Billboards take a while for people to recognize who you are, because driving by, they don't go, I've got to go in now. It's when they need you. Right. And then eventually, after seeing enough times, they'll think about you. So in our marketing, what we do is we take that patient through this journey where we may supply them maybe a stretch guide for low back pain or whatever it may be, and of course we place cookies on their computer like everyone else, and follow them and just periodically supply them information until they say, this is I need to go see this person. And so unlike some of these other advertising forms they're doing, where you have 60 leads in a month and 2 people come in, these people, when they call us, they're coming in to make an appointment because we become that trusted source for them.
Love it. No, I love that. And that is the philosophy that really does build the solid. And that takes time. That's not something you're just going to throw some money at this month and expect it to pay off next month, right?
Yeah, it does. It just, well, once again, people look at marketing as expenses, and I just tell them, I said, look, it can be an expense. It can be a big loss at times. It's an investment back in your practice. And we need to stop. The same thing with associates. People tell me all the time, I'd like to bring an associate in, but it's such an expense. I said, well, because you're looking at it as an expense and not an investment. Now, all investments take money. All investments make money from you initially, but then they gain you so much more on the back end if you're willing to take that risk.
Yeah. Yeah. And point well taken back to BlueIQ, because that's what we're measuring is the KPI of that system. And then what are the lead metrics that they can be doing? What's the vision? What's the expectations? How do we hold those things accountable? How do we juggle so many balls? And that's, as we're wrapping things up here, unfortunately, as our time is winding down, Tony, can you, for those in our audience that really do want to make the leap from that one practice to their second, third, fourth, how did you do it? How did you get from that first to second? I know you mentioned you need to get the first one driving significant revenues, but there's got to be another secret. What is it?
Yeah. So the procedure part, I'm going to go through at Parker Vegas this year. So if you guys want to hear the rest of the talk, we're going to do it there. But I think that's a great question. And it's funny because that's actually been on my mind lately, because I was realizing that there's this thing called the push. And the push is that gap in between your current level of success and then your future level of success. And what lies in that push, in that gap, is a lot of work. And people aren't willing to do the work. And what I mean by that is when you're going, for example, if you want to bring an associate in your practice at the base level, your practice has to be at a certain level. Whatever those parameters may be, whether it's revenue, whether it's patient visits, or whatever it may be, you have to work your butt off to get to that level, and you have to do it consistently over a period of time. And most people retract when it gets tough. When you do decide to open up your second practice, there's a lot of work required on your part outside of your daily duties, because you're still seeing patients full time. Oh, yeah. Everybody's goal is to get to a point where they can just manage the business, and I'm telling you, it takes a while to get to that point. Yeah. And so you've got to find the grit that it takes to get to that next level of success. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. I mean, this year, at the beginning of the year, I had an incredible push I had to make, because we opened up 2 new divisions of the business. We opened up a neurofeedback center, which is a brain-based center, and then we opened up a family medicine clinic as well. And that stuff's new to me. And so I was literally at my desk for the first 3 months of the year, 7 days a week till 10:30 at night. And that is no exaggeration whatsoever. It was a miserable time for me, because I had to write new systems and all the other things. And in addition to take care of my daily duties as it is. Mm-hmm. So if you're not willing to push through these levels, you're not willing to have the grit to make it happen, don't do it. Just don't do it. And that's the one piece of advice I can give you. But and all the other things that come along with it, if you have that grit, you'll learn them along the way.
That's incredible advice. I always tell people, if I would have known what it was going to take to get BlueIQ off the ground and successful, I probably wouldn't have done it. It's been more work. But I'm gratefully the Lord and blessed me with parents that just instilled into me this work ethic that I just attribute to them. And it has. It's just taken absolute grind.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But you're doing it. I'm glad that you've done it, because we're better off as a result of it. I know that. And now that new insights that you have is absolutely incredible.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, man, it's great.
So fun.
Very impressed. Very impressed with you.
We've got some super cool stuff coming, especially with our patient pop-up profiles, and there's going to be everything from, we're going to add some fundamental stuff that you guys are going to need, like patient reminders and appointment reminders, kind of stuff like that. So we're kind of turning now to some of the outward systems to help attract, appointments and attract different things like that. But anyway, Tony, I seriously could talk to you all day, and it's a bummer that we're out of time. But again, revisiting our whole mantra here, just kind of recapping why Tony's been so successful. I think it comes down to, number one, his character, being willing to become who he needed to be to build what he's built. Number two, having the grit, the grind, the determination, just the passion to materialize it. And that gap, as you said, can be absolutely brutal, and you make it through that. And what I have found is that if I haven't surrounded myself with mentors, if I haven't surrounded myself with the people to help me through that process, then those are the people that end up burning out and collapsing. But if you find people that you can tap onto, like Tony, who's paved the road, read his book, listen to his YouTube videos. He did an amazing speech at the Parker graduation. I highly recommend everybody listen to it. I had to crack up when I said that a few key points in that talk. He's speaking at Parker this year in February. So follow guys like this around, because they are the ones leading the way that is painting this. If you can't dream it, you can't achieve it. And that's what Tony's showing, is that not only is it dreamable, it's achievable because he's doing it. So Tony, thanks for being on our show today. So grateful to be with you.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man. And keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making a huge difference.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We are in the blue. We're here every Friday from 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, and always have great guests coming to you every week. Subscribe to our channel. Make sure you click on notifications so the second we go live, you'll be notified. And you can always find these reposted throughout our social media. We're in the blue. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, bud.